Today we're going to talk about the EOS Leadership Team Issues Solving Deep Dive. I based this on a session, a masterful session, that was presented by Tanya Bengston at one of the quarterlies for EOS implementers. And she called it the 8 Masterful Facilitation Practices to Elevate IDS. I've added some additions to it, and this document is available as a PDF. Just let me know and I can send it to you. Now, before we get started, I want to speak about a couple of assumptions. The first thing is I'm assuming that you as a member of a leadership team or you as a leadership team has mastered the level 10 meeting format and you're following it. And the second thing is that you've mastered the basics of the issue solving track, the IDS, and is applying those. If you're uncertain about these things, look in the toolbox of your leadership team manual and refresh your mind about what this is all about. Once we've got that in place, we can look at these facilitation practices that will really help you take your ability to solve issues to the next level. The first thing we want to talk about is the role of the person leading. We don't call it the leader, we call it the facilitator. So ask the question, who is going to be our facilitator, not who runs the L10 or who runs the session. It's the facilitator. And this facilitator has to play the role like an orchestra conductor, where they give everyone a turn to bring their information or their whatever they're contributing to the overall effort, the overall sound if it's an orchestra. But it's a little bit more tricky because you also have to participate. So you can't just conduct all the time. You have to facilitate, get everyone's stuff in, but get your stuff in as well and give equal airtime to everyone. Now, a very good idea here, before you start on your journey or as you develop it as you go forward, assign different roles for different people to help you be more successful. You may have a question czar, that person who's always thinking of what can go wrong, what is the negative, a bit of a black hat energy. Maybe it's someone with a very detailed brain, and use that as something that will make you stronger. So that person will always come with the question. The second one is appoint someone to be the to-doist, to keep the to-do lists, to report back on the to-do lists, to make sure that the to-do lists are always up to date and all the new to-dos are captured. And then another idea may be a tangent alerter, someone who's there to let you know when everyone's going off on a tangent. You're facilitating, you can't always do everything, and it's really good to help someone help you with tangents. Now, another thing really important is once the first facilitator has mastered the role, it's a good idea to take turns. Give someone else the turn to facilitate. Learn first and teach the skill to others, because they're going to, in any case, have to teach the people one level down, and they have to run the sessions one level down into the organization. So teach it early. The second principle or facilitation practice here to learn is that to work together as a leadership team is not a normal conversation. It's a discipline. We're together for a specific reason. We're not here to become bigger friends or to have a fantastic time together just chatting. We're here solving issues. When done well, IDS is all about identifying and solving these issues that will make our lives better together. So we don't need the whole story, the histories, or all the symptoms to tee anything up. This is where most people start, and it's largely a big waste of time. We need a big I, a little d, and a big S. So big, identify what the root cause of the issue is, spend little time on the discussion, and a big time on the solving of the issue. And we need to get our teams to fall in love with the I, the identifying part. IDS, when well done, is all about masterful discipline, technique, and facilitation. And it flies in the face of how most of us were educated. We were graded on having the right answer. Here, we're actually better off if we have the right question. The right question will take us to a place where we need to go, and that is what's genius. The third principle, we need to talk about the the great questions that we need to ask. And there are 3 characteristics of a great question. First of all, the question is not a yes or a no, so it's not a dead end. We don't know the answer yet. We're getting closer. And it helps us get closer and closer to the core root of the answer. Now, there are a couple of things that you can think about here. First of all, I don't know if you've seen Ted Lasso and you've seen the episode about get curious, not judgmental. That's a really good skill to have in this place. The second thing is you can ask a framework of asking questions to get further into the root or to find the root. Ask who, what, when, where, why, how. Those questions may help you get to the root cause. And then the next thing is ask why 5 times. If they say this is what's happened, ask why again. Why has that happened? And why did that happen? And why did that happen? 5 times until you get to the root cause. And let the questions then steer our discussion for us to find identify the root cause of the issue. The next thing I want to talk about is that we need to master the skill of listening. There are 3 levels of listening. The first level is where we focus on ourselves and our reaction to what's being said. So we are getting ready to answer. We're not listening to understand. That's the level 2. We're focusing on the others. We're getting in what they're getting, but we are ready to solve. We wait to speak to solve whatever they brought to the table. And then there's level 3 thinking, where we're looking at the global focus, the context. We look at what is not being said. We look at body language, the tone of voice, the energy in the room. This is the hardest level, and we can't stay here forever because it takes a lot of energy and focus. Now, the difference between feeling heard and feeling loved is very close. And great facilitation relies on level 3 listening and responding to the energy in the room so that everyone gets their opportunity so that they can feel heard, because that feels like being loved. The next principle is that the facilitator must exude mental toughness and resilience. We need to have a warrior mindset. We need to have discipline and focus and the ability to control the room, to interrupt, to steer, to make sure progress is made whilst maintaining civility and respectful behavior. And this is where humor can really help us if used correctly. But we need to be in charge and keep this whole thing going, because it's not a normal conversation. This is a discipline. The 6th principle is be prepared. Before the time, if you're facilitating, review the scorecard, the rocks, the IDSing before the meeting starts. Be prepared with your update for your scorecard items and your rocks. And then also have the time blocked on your calendar after the meeting to do the new to-dos that you're going to get from the IDSing. And put time on your calendar to work on your rocks as well. If you commit to auditing and training great facilitation, L10 meetings, execution, and IDSing, this will help you go forward and you'll become so much stronger as a team. The 7th thing I want to talk about is that there are 5 great steps to great IDSing, to issue solving. Step 1 is a masterful setup. Dan Wallace said we have to ask these following questions. If someone or there's an issue on the issues list, we first ask, who owns this? Whose issue is this? That person's in charge of the issue, and that person needs to decide when the issue is solved for them. You want to then also ask, who are you talking to? Who are going to be the recipients of whatever we're going to bring to the table? And then number 3, what is the need? Sometimes we solve things that we don't need to solve. Sometimes the person just needs information to share with us. So we give that person the time to share the information. Everyone's got it. If there are any to-dos out of it, we got it, and it's done. Sometimes people need just simply help or advice on something that they're working with. They're stuck. They need help and advice. We can simply give that to them. The to-dos follow, and the issue is solved. But sometimes we need to make a decision. We need to go into the full IDSing, and we need to problem solve. So ask that before the time. Otherwise, we may try and problem solve everything, and there isn't really a problem there. Now, once you've got the masterful setup, you know exactly what you want to solve for, you need to identify the root of the issue. The number one reason teams fail at IDSing is their inability to identify the root causes. They struggle with symptoms. They say things like the sales are off track, or quality is down, or communication is poor, and there can be multiple causes to all of these. I use the 5 whys and the getting what you want tool to help them get to root causes. You may have other ways of doing that. But the getting what you want for a complex issue is really something that you can use. Then step 3 is a small d. We need to spend less time on brainstorming. Because if you know what the root cause is, and you just go around the room and everyone gives an idea of how they would solve the issue, that is what we need. Get all of those ideas voiced. Make sure that there's no politics, so no one repeats their stuff or try and dominate it or push their idea forward, but listen to all of them so that everyone hears all the ideas and everyone feels heard. Make sure also that that person that doesn't speak up, that you give them the opportunity to come with an idea. Step 4 then is, now we spend time, make a big S on finding the solution. What of these ideas can we combine, and how can we take that forward? And let's get to the same page of what we're going to do to take it further. Once we've got those to-dos done, we then ask the question, are you solved? And we go back to the original owner of the issue. We don't ask the whole room. Or maybe, if it's a bigger issue, you can ask, are you solved for now? Do you have what you need for the coming period? And maybe the rest could go onto the issues list as separate issues. So solve what the owner asked for. Don't go bigger. Don't try and solve all the world's problems in one go. Something that I added is number 8, time mastery. When the leadership team follows all the disciplines described above, your target is to solve an issue within about 5 minutes, even if it's a big issue. If you find your problem solving takes longer, think about some of these things. First of all, is the root clearly defined and stated? Are we focused? Secondly, are we perhaps looking at something that should be broken up into components? Should be using the getting what you want tool? Should we then ask which of the resulting components should be solved for in the coming time period, and which should be added to the issues list to be solved at a later date? And the third thing to ask is, are we trying to solve issues that are not essential to be solved for the time slot we are looking at? Have we got already everything solved that we need for this time slot? So there you go. That's time mastery. There's a whole list of magical questions and phrases in the document that can help you throughout the process. And I'll quickly read them to you, and you can also get a copy of this document afterwards. The questions are things like, does this whole team need to be involved with, or should we delegate it to be solved? Next one, have we gotten to the root cause? Number 3, what's the issue we're solving here? Can we get back to the root cause? Is that a separate issue? Let's add it to this issues list and keep going on our current issue. And then the big one, just wait. Don't always talk. Put it out there and wait. Let silence do the heavy lifting. It's a very difficult thing for a facilitator sometimes to do. Just let the silence do it for you. Ask the question, are we off track? It sounds like we're on a tangent. Then the next one, let's drop it down like hammer time. Are these truly the most important issues to solve today? Did we just jump into the discussion? So we haven't got the root cause identified yet. Are we okay with all these late to-dos? Should we IDS what's going on here? Perhaps someone is not finishing their to-dos every week. Use the room. I could be wrong, or is it just me? Or I'm sensing, is something going on in the room? Is there an elephant in the room? Ask the question, is there a theme here? My favorite. What would the dumbest person in the room ask? Another one. What information do we need to solve this issue? Do we have the facts? Okay, team, let's pepper them with questions and listen to the voices in the room. Who's accountable? What are we trying to achieve here? If we solve this issue perfectly, what does it look like? What tool can we use to solve this issue? Have we heard from everyone? Who haven't we heard from? Look to someone and say, what are your thoughts? Uh-oh, your plane is low on fuel. Can you land in the next 30 seconds? For someone who's trying to push their agenda, getting into politics. Are we running enthusiastically in the wrong direction? Are we aggressively agreeing right now? And my last one, and one of the favorite ones, criticism is a lazy way of asking what you need. So there you have it. This is the EOS Leadership Team Issues Solving Deep Dive. Let me know if you want the PDF that goes with it. All thanks to Tanya Bengston for starting this whole process for us. And let's remember that as a leadership team, as we get stronger and we get better at problem solving, we're fulfilling our purpose as a leadership team. You are in a position on the leadership team because you were chosen to be here. You have the smartest brains in this organization. You're also the highest paid probably in the organization. So this is the most expensive time. But if we can make this the most productive time together, doing the important work of solving the issues and the problems and bringing the opportunities to the rest of the company, we are fulfilling our purpose as a leadership team. It'll make us stronger. It'll make the company stronger, more profitable. And in the long run, we'll all have more fun together. Hopefully this was helpful. I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Have a great time.